When was the last time you heard a marketing person speak about individual business relationships? My guess? Probably never. What you do hear a lot about is lead generation, funnels, advertising, social media automation, search engine optimization, and more. Is that because relationships don't matter? No, it's because most people, even the experts, simply do not know how to systematically build relationships because they've never done it. Initiating new connections and cultivating those connections are not common knowledge. The few professionals who do this generally do it in an ad hoc way, and they are unable to scale those activities. Interacting with more sophisticated audiences requires a more sophisticated approach. But what does that mean for you? Well, it means that the biggest problems that you want solved remains unsolved. How do you avoid ebbs and flows and a general lack of business? And how do you create more predictability? If you don't do this right, you will go backwards in evolution. Everything is changing. People are becoming increasingly overwhelmed by information. Traditional advertising is becoming less successful. Lead generation, where you chase people, is annoying them and devaluing you and your brand. People are becoming more skeptical, and it's much more difficult to be seen and heard. That's why relationships are becoming more and more important. Building relationships with your clients, contacts, network, and referral parties is what now, but even more so in the future, ultimately will determine how successful your business will be, whether it survives and thrives or not. Relationships are built when you're present and interacting directly, but also when you aren't present by staying current and top of mind. Obtaining more business, creating better opportunities, and making more connections when all is driven by relationships generally means that you depend on word of mouth, referrals, repeat business, introductions, networking, and relationship building as key means of growing. Typically, you will then provide sophisticated services and/or focus on sophisticated target audiences. Traditional marketing, coaching, and business development aren't always that well suited to help you. And if you're already paying attention to relationships today, then you might still not have tapped into the benefits of understanding how to build and cultivate relationships to drive business at scale. And that's what we often see. It's more done on a case-by-case basis. Now, if what I've told you about sounds like it might describe you, then make sure that you stay for the duration of this presentation, because I'd like to offer you some free and tangible advice that has generated millions of dollars for our clients. My name's Dan, and I'm the founder of Performance Laws, and I'm the creator of the Cultivation system. I've spent over 20 years in roles where I provided sophisticated services to advanced target audiences across the world for multinational banks and corporations. I've worked with some of the largest and most important clients in these fields. 6 years ago, I started this company to help professionals and companies achieve scalable results for relationship-driven businesses as a way of making more money, but also help them achieve their goals of, for example, starting their own business, becoming location independent, going local, national, or international, or becoming an industry leader. Since starting, we've helped hundreds of clients across the world, beginners to experienced professionals and established companies. Now, here's me in my former life doing a presentation. And here's another example of me today interacting on a call with some of our clients. And speaking of clients, here's one of our clients, John. And remember him because he will come back at the end of this video. I want to share his story with you. What I want to do in this presentation is tell you about how you can evolve and systematically succeed with initiating new contacts, cultivating those contacts, staying top of mind, and ultimately bringing them to the point where you can deliver value and then leverage those relationships to obtain more business. So how do you get more business, create better opportunities, and make more connections when all is driven by relationships? Why does it matter? Can't you just do this as you go along? In fact, that's what most people do that tell me that they're good at building relationships. They do it one by one. It takes time, there's no structure to it that can be scaled, and they wouldn't even know how to replicate what they've done. If you're interested in actually growing, you need more than this, unless you have 10 years to spare. There is a big difference between this, the ad hoc approach, and this, a more purposeful, systematic, and scalable approach. Relationship-based business development doesn't have to be slow and only fit a certain type of business. It applies both to the individual and the holistic systematic level, meaning how you interact at an individual one-on-one level with prospects does matter, but also how you create opportunities at scale, how you stay top of mind and enhance your visibility. What happens after you made a new connection or try to make a sale or generate some kind of outcome online or in the real world and you haven't immediately been successful? Well, frankly, that represents 90 to 95%, maybe even 99% of all cases, and no one's really talking about this. What we will do is show you exactly how to manage that nurturing process so that you focus not only on the one, but also on the 99. The ability to connect with people is an art and science, but it can be learned and implemented to produce great outcomes. Now, we all have our own opinions about most leaders and celebrities, but if we set that aside, there are many that stand out for their ability to build rapport across age, locations, and personal views. I want to show you how you can implement some of this in your own business by using modern and scalable techniques. But before that, let's look at why business development is so challenging for businesses that depend mainly on relationships. The easiest way to explain the challenges is that relationships take time to develop, but that doesn't give us the full picture. The main challenge faced by relationship-driven activities is something we call the delayed feedback loop, and that tends to result in three different things. Initiatives will rarely generate immediate results, because what you do today will often take time to produce the desired outcome. It also means that it's hard to gauge the impact of your activities, because you don't know if what you're doing is working or not until later. And finally, this creates challenges in evaluating the allocation of time, money, and effort spent on these activities. And I'll give you an example of this. Imagine you're the owner of a restaurant. You've just started a restaurant and you're now looking to get your first customers. So what you'll do is take out an ad in the local paper. And in that ad, you'll include a voucher code. Anybody who comes in on Saturday and produces that voucher code will get 20% off on their meal. Fast forward to Saturday. The restaurant is packed and the majority of your customers have produced that voucher code. So you're now in the fortunate position to understand that if you take out those local ads and you include some kind of discount, your restaurant will be packed. This means that you have full visibility over the input and the output, and you can decide how much money you want to spend on advertising to generate customers for your restaurant. Now let's get back to the real world. For your business dependent on relationships, it doesn't work like this, because you don't know whether what you're doing right now is the right thing and you'll soon be out of that business development maze, or if you're heading in the completely wrong direction and you will at best come out of the maze sometime in the future, but perhaps you won't come out of that maze at all. Because most professionals don't know what to do, they end up doing some things that we see time and time again. And what are those things? Well, they're being hands-off, using a fragmented approach, and sticking to doing a good job. Let's start with the most common one first. If you had hoped for a completely hands-off approach, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it doesn't work. It sure sounds appealing though, just to hire someone to do this for you. Now you may disagree with me and say, hold on Dan, I can trace business from specific activity XYZ that I wasn't actively involved in. And you'd probably be right, but what I'm saying here is that for the vast majority, it won't be effective and scalable. And even for you, there are things that you can do that will produce better results, more business and profit at virtually zero cost. Wouldn't it be worth exploring that? So why doesn't this work, a hands-off approach? Well, if you get business based predominantly on relationships, in isolation, how would someone sending LinkedIn connections from your account or posting on your blog help you drive direct business? How would a new website or advertising do that? Sure, some of these activities can help support your efforts, but they won't be direct drivers. Another direct result of this is fragmentation. People tend to jump from activity to activity only to focus on one or two things at a time, mainly because of something they saw or heard, what someone told them, or what someone else is doing. These are all isolated efforts without consideration of the whole. When it's nearly impossible to understand the bigger picture, what actually drives business for you and how to influence that, it's just so much easier to pay someone to help you with SEO, Google Ads, or a new website. And isn't it funny how most people always are disappointed with performance of marketing people? I hear that constantly, how people rarely get the results that they want. And I think this is the reason. The people you hire may be good at what they do, but it still won't help you if you approach business development and marketing this way. You can obtain short-term results with isolated efforts, but they will still be isolated and fragmented. You will rarely own the initiatives or the relationships, so it's not conducive for longevity and robustness. Defaulting to just doing a good job and hoping for more business and word of mouth isn't much of a strategy in my opinion, because it's reactive. You're not in control and you're not in a real position to affect larger scale ripples. Sure, there may be some, but for most, it's not sufficient. Additionally, if you don't have a diversified set of clients and referral parties, it means that you can't base a strategy on relying solely on this group. If you're just starting out today, you will have zero. So there's no way you can rely on word of mouth. What you also need to keep in mind is that things change. Your clients may retire and move on. And this is actually quite common. That puts your business at great risk. So does this mean that doing a good job and word of mouth aren't effective business development activities? On the contrary, there are actually a couple of the most effective things that you can focus on. But, and this is a big but, they should form part of a broader roadmap and set of activities. And there are things that you can do to leverage the power of your network and also help word of mouth along the way. The natural approach, given the complexities of this space, is to try to find quality information or find someone that can help you. And I'll give you 4 reasons for why these people tend to produce inadequate outcomes. The first one is many coaches, marketing experts, and business development specialists aren't specialized in your field. And even though they may have or may not have had a successful track record, once you start scratching the surface, it often turns out that if they had helped someone produce results, it's often not someone in your line of business or in your particular situation. The second point is they don't have the right background. Many of these specialists have never done what you are doing themselves. They tend to come from a digital marketing background, branding, PR, or general coaching. And number 3, they think that it's about traditional digital marketing. And even though that can be helpful, it's not something that will help you build relationships. And finally, they don't understand how the dots are connected. So what do I mean by this? Well, more often than not, they will only be using some of the tools that are necessary, never using the full toolbox. But if they were using all of the right tools, they tend not to understand how each activity fits into the bigger picture, and they have no way of making everything work in harmony, only in isolation. Let's get one thing straight. The one thing that really matters for your prospective clients as well as existing clients are relationships. If they don't have a relationship with someone, it's unlikely that they will work with them, and definitely not on an ongoing basis. Social media, advertising, and other marketing activities are not direct drivers of business. It's highly unlikely that you will get business directly when making new LinkedIn connections or from someone seeing your latest blog post. At least consistently. It simply doesn't work this way. All of these activities are of supporting nature, so they will generally help you stay top of mind. And there are always exceptions, of course, but for the vast majority, the path of least resistance will be to focus on relationships and network. Now, if you are a rock star at visibility and you love LinkedIn, being on TV, radio, publishing research paper, and people really notice you and provide you with direct, tangible business from these activities, then it's of course great. You can then add relationship building efforts to increase your results by multiples. But most people aren't rock stars though. It just feels good to outsource or maybe hide behind the keyboard. So what I want to do now is share some of the most common questions asked by people that we speak to and exemplify with how our clients have solved these questions successfully. So what are these questions? Number 1, need for a roadmap and a system to understand what to do, when and how to do it. Number 2, how to initiate contacts. Number 3, how to build relationships and cultivate contacts. Number 4, how to avoid ebbs and flows and obtain better consistency. And number 5, not having time to learn or time to implement. So let's rearrange these questions into a system that's transparent and easy to follow. At the very top, we had the need for a roadmap and system, which is the system itself. And at the bottom, the system would show you how to avoid ebbs and flows and improve consistency. And then in the middle, we have the sequence of activities: initiating contacts, building relationships, and cultivating contacts, and implementing these strategies. And this is exactly how we've designed our contact cultivation system. In 4 pillars: contact initiation, contact cultivation, contact preservation and leverage, and activity implementation. Now let's take a look at how some of our clients have solved these questions. The need for a roadmap and system. Having access to a system provides you with clarity, so you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It also ensures efficiency when it comes to time, money, and energy. And finally, it also helps you deliver tangible results. Let's have a look at some of the results our clients have been getting.
So I think, Dan, what I've gained so much from your program is, and again, it sounds very simplistic, not having to reinvent the wheel. You've helped me focus on the things that are effective, identify the things that are effective, and then how to implement those things. If I'd have known, as busy as I've gotten, if I'd have known 15 or 16 years ago what I know now, I would have hooked up with somebody like Dan very early on. It would have saved me a lot of spinning wheels, I think.
And that's when I met Dan. And I remember very vividly our first call. We had our initial call, and I hung up from that call thinking, gee, I hope he takes me on as a client. I will be very fortunate if he takes me on as a client. And he did, and I am. Because I think Anna mentioned the system, and that's what's so important. It's things that somewhere in the dark recesses of our mind, we intellectually know we need to be doing. But what Dan does is shines the light in that dark corner and brings that all to a focus. And he's very systematic.
I finally found performance laws and got the program, got the system, got the method to start thinking strategically about my target and who I need to contact, and identifying those people and identifying how to reach them, and then doing it, and then following up on doing it. All these things that are part of the performance law system has made enormous difference.
I think that Dan is a fit for a lot of different types of people. The structure of Dan's program is different from anything I've ever encountered.
As you can see from these LinkedIn testimonials, our clients are referring our systematic approach, their very clear and effective outreach and communication plan, all highlighted in the green boxes, as well as the framework that they have been able to follow, the well-organized and thoughtfully constructed walkthrough, step-by-step instructions, as well as a successful methodology that you can follow. How to initiate contacts. Initiating contacts comes down to 3 different things. Understanding your audience through defining your ecosystem and your available target audiences. These are all the entities and individuals that are able to help you directly and indirectly. Finding your audience, both online and in the real world, through public and non-public sources. And approaching your audience, which comes down to your message, narrative, and having a structured and patient approach. Now let's have a look at some of the results our clients have been able to achieve. And these examples all come from our private client community. So in the example at the top, we have one client who used good old-fashioned physical mail to connect with potential clients, and she was able to secure business as a result of it. Just a few days later, she posted again in the group and shared how she was able to get 2 very strong potential clients using LinkedIn. Here's another example of one client who used LinkedIn, and he got 3 engagement from start to finish within 30 days from a completely new contact. Here's another example of a client. He saw a post from someone on LinkedIn, reached out to that individual via email with a catchy hook, and he was able to secure business on the back of it. Yet another example, one of our clients joined the program and was able to secure business by reaching out, staying in touch via email. How to build relationships and cultivate contacts. Now, this goes back to the example that I showed you earlier of focusing on the 99 and not only the 1. Almost no one does this, and of the very few who do, no one does it in a structured way. So being successful with contact cultivation and nurturing process, which really makes up the bulk of your business development efforts in this space, comes down to a few different things. Time plus effort. You need to have a reliable system, you need to have continuous effort, and you need to allow for time. That will allow you to cultivate new relationships. You also should focus on staying top of mind, and having an omni-channel communication and presence will help you with this. And finally, visibility plays a role here. So being visible through posting on social media, through producing content, and also being visible in person is going to be greatly helpful for you. Let's listen to what some of our clients have to say about this. It's quite challenging to cultivate new relationships, but you quickly had opportunities. You had, I think you were saying that you had something like 13 to 15 opportunities just after a number of weeks of putting your full focus on this. And some of those opportunities have also resulted in direct business now.
Yeah. So it really is being top of mind. So you have to constantly be top of mind with your network.
And here's an example of how one of our clients was able to secure business through contact cultivation. She stands to make about $75,000 to $125,000 from this new LinkedIn connection. And the best part of it is that she provides services that are of repeat character. So making this one connection and getting business from that connection once will generally lead to more repeat business. Continuing with how to build relationships and cultivate contacts, but moving on from new connections to established contacts. So once you've established a business relationship with someone or established a connection with someone, you're able to leverage that relationship. So you can make the most of your network by obtaining more business from existing contacts or new business from existing contacts. You can obtain new business through your existing contacts. You can also make your network on your behalf. This is something that can happen 24/7, whether you're involved or not. And all you have to do is really focus on staying top of mind. And I want to share some fantastic examples of this with you.
I decided to send out, after talking with you and, the best approach, to send out a targeted email. And it wasn't a huge list. I sent that one week. And the next week or two, I now have 5 cases. Yeah. So I'm really slammed right now because I'm at my CFO clients during the day, and then I'm working on these cases at night.
What ended up happening with our work was that you made that initial effort and got business immediately from it. So then you got incredibly busy with everything that was going on. But I guess that's the way it is. Sometimes you get a little bit more than you want to.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
Here's a few examples where I've asked existing clients about the results that they've gotten working with us. So the first example is one client. She's probably made between $450,000 to $500,000 within a 12-month time period, and she has 4 more large opportunities that could generate pretty much as much. So she could stand to make up to $1 million in about a year and a half. Here's another example of a client that started off making about $300,000 annually, and in 3 years' time was able to grow to over $700,000 annually through our program. Here's yet another example of a client who started off with about $250,000 annually, and he's now on track to make over $750,000 this year. And I'll give you a few more examples. One client was able to utilize some of our techniques for cultivating existing contacts and staying top of mind to book 7 engagements pretty much immediately with one single activity. So pretty extraordinary results. Here's another example. One of our clients had sort of fallen off the wagon a little bit with business development activities, and she needed help with getting back on track. We got on a call with her, walked her through some of the steps that she could take. She spent about a week implementing those activities, and she was pretty much booked solid 2-3 weeks out after that. And as you can see, very often our clients will tell the story themselves in our private client community. Here's another example of a client who joined the program, and she got so busy immediately that she fell off the radar and popped up after 6 months and told the story of how she simply had gotten too busy. Another example of a client that implemented a few of our activities and booked about $18,000 gross on the back of that, and that was also pretty much immediate. That takes us to question 4, how to avoid ebbs and flows and improve consistency. Well, avoiding ebbs and flows and improving consistency really comes down to applying the system that we've covered thus far. I'll give you an example of this. One of our clients was already so busy when he started working with us that it was difficult for him to take on more work, but he wanted more consistency and also wanted to change the nature of his business. So after working with us, we were able to help him with producing 30% revenue growth, immediate transition from what he was doing to running his own business completely. He was also able to stay top of mind and cultivate new contacts. And effectively, he was able to work less and make more. And you can see his email here where he responded to some of my questions. And that takes us to the final question to answer, not having time to learn and not time to implement. Well, our system is, as you can see, designed to produce tangible results, but the activities still need to be implemented. So what we always do with our clients is look at what they're able to do themselves. Some activities are crucial, but there are a lot of activities that others can do for them. So those activities could be outsourced, they could be insourced. And finally, the utilization of automation and processes will help you greatly in terms of just getting things done. Let's have a look at what a few of our clients have to say about this.
Once you get into a certain groove, a lot of the mechanics of the program are fairly automatic. Like, I know what I have to do every morning or every day, whatever, and I just do it. I don't have to pause and think about it and wonder if I want to reach out to this person or not. I just do it. It's just done. It's done.
That's
it's
a big thing.
You've made it once. It's just done.
Yeah.
And so you can move from the task completion aspect of things that really tends to capture your entire mind most of the time, but you are able to move away from that task completion focus and then just focus on now the relationship comes. The task is done. The relationship is what happens now, and ultimately it matters more.
When it comes to the business development activities, you're not doing everything yourself. You're doing the key parts, but you're also getting help, right?
Yeah, I am getting help. But part of it is that you need to know how to do it yourself in order to be able to delegate it.
Yeah.
And so this was easy enough for me to learn well so that I could ask somebody what it was that I needed help with. I think that it helps that I can break it into pieces. And then it's all about consistency, I think. So we develop a system that works to maintain that consistency. And like you said, I mean, it's all about implementation.
As I started getting into your program, it became very clear to me that it is so well orchestrated that there were parts and pieces of it that I thought, I can really, these key components to kind of build and grow, I can teach this very easily to someone. So I have, I actually now have a freelancer who works with me and does those things for me. And it's been a game changer. Is if there's anyone thinking, wow, how am I going to handle all of this extra stuff? Once you learn it, you're going to see that you can delegate and delegate very easily and delegate so many pieces of it.
Here's an example of a very busy and successful business owner who was unable to do everything himself. So we showed him our implementation strategies, and as a result, he was able to grow his business in the United Kingdom, where he's based, also in the Middle East, and we're now looking at strategies for growing his business in North America. So the 5 questions that we've just walked through really boils down to our cultivation system. And the cultivation system is current, proven, effective, and relevant. And let me explain this a little bit further. Current means that our clients are using the system today with great success. A lot of marketing advice for businesses that are dependent on relationship-driven activities are incomplete and ineffective. Proven means that our clients are using them today to get tangible results. More business and not irrelevant metrics and results that don't help your bottom line. They're also effective. Our clients can minimize the time and effort spent to drive positive results, not waste time, money, and energy on activities that don't matter. And finally, the system is relevant. Our clients are all obtaining business from relationships, so our system is 100% tailor-made for these particular use cases. Before we get to the end of this presentation, let me ask you a question. Are you Michelangelo, the 1475 Florence-born poet, sculptor, painter, and architect who painted the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican City? If I gave you a paintbrush, paint colors, and some scaffolding, could you do the same work as Michelangelo? You would probably say no, but why? You have all the things that you need to do the job. The reason is, of course, that it does come down to skill. But sometimes people don't apply this view when it comes to marketing and business development. Let me explain. Some professionals feel like they are already doing everything that can be done to grow their business. And they will listen to my presentation today and say, oh, I'm already doing that. They basically know it all and they treat any other ideas with doubt. I've never met anyone who knows everything. I'm sure that you would agree with that. But for argument's sake, let's say that someone really does know everything that needs to be done to get more clients, cases, opportunities, and connections. Effectively, they have the paintbrush, colors, and scaffolding. Are they also the ones who are best suited to perform all of these activities? I.e., can they do a good job as Michelangelo? The answer is very likely no. And I think if you've stayed for the duration of this presentation, you will agree. You might know a lot, but you realize that you're probably not the only one that can provide input on how you need to achieve what you want to achieve. So after listening to my presentation, you now have a choice to make. Either you do nothing. You wait and see, you use a fragmented approach, you continue with what you're doing, you'll be your own Michelangelo. Or we do this together, which means that you won't have to reinvent the wheel. You get access to our system, which will give you a complete and transparent roadmap, giving you clarity on what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You will see effectiveness in terms of time, money, and energy spent. No time wasted, faster implementation, and faster results. Our clients are making millions of dollars using the system that we presented for you here today. And here is an overview of the cultivation system. So we've developed this system over many years and we've constructed it empirically, meaning through optimization and real-world application by our clients. The following delivery of the system produces the absolute best results. You get access to 4 things: an e-learning platform with hours of free content, a client community where we share the latest success stories and advice several times per week, and where our clients also interact and share best practices themselves. We also do regular collaboration calls, which are of Q&A nature, as well as implementation calls, where we focus on getting you up and running, producing results quickly. And finally, you also get access to one-on-one interaction with me to ensure that you get a tailor-made experience. I asked some of our clients what they think are the main benefits of the program.
The group calls are good because I think it's helpful to talk with colleagues, what works, what's not working, or hey, this is coming up, but also the supports. I've enjoyed it. It's made me think again, that hard accountability. It's been more of the, well, Tina, you said you wanted to expand this part of your business. Where are you on this?
It's what I call the 3 C's for Dan. You get great coaching one-on-one, you get great collaboration and camaraderie with the others in our group that we interact with. And then the last one is you kind of help us build a little more confidence and when we dust those cobwebs off. So yes, 100% I would recommend working with Dan.
These are really great tools and that's what I needed. For whatever field or profession relies on these personal connections, these are really great tools that really sort of take the guesswork out of the marketing, which I greatly appreciate.
Right, but I really like the fact that Dan has his own target market. And I really enjoyed that. And I found that very beneficial because I knew he understood what I was talking about. So I found that great. And then, of course, fine tuning how I approach my clients and moving forward from there. I found that the biggest advantage in working with Dan.
What you've done since I first came into the program several months ago is now you have that school platform. So now it's like, it's not just the program, but then you're in this community, and then we have calls. And then this ties into another thing that's great, the accessibility to you. But it's like, it's like, but if we need a question answered or asked, or go into the community and being like, hey, I'm having issues with this, and having the community. So you get all of that input on how to basically kind of build your business. So the new platform with the school platform, the mentorship, like the accessibility to the community, to you, and then having that very organized, structured program.
Have I gotten more business? Yes, without question. To give you an idea, I did more in the first 6 months of this year than I did in the 12 months before. And the big difference was the coaching that I received. I mean, if you look at everything I was doing and what I wasn't doing, when I started doing the coaching, all of a sudden I began to see an increase, and it's exploded. It's growing, and I'm getting more clients. I continue to expand my brand with that. So I'm starting to face the pleasant challenge now of how do I work those practices together now, because one's really taking off. And so I'm starting to have the pleasant problem, Dan, of having too much business, which is a good thing, and whether I should expand for other reasons. So yes, would I recommend the coaching? Absolutely. But you have to do the work. And if you're willing to discipline yourself, if you're willing to put yourself in that regimen so that you are going to follow these techniques, you will succeed. Oh yeah. So I strongly, I strongly recommend the program. It did help my business, and for that I'm extremely grateful.
Remember our client John that I told you about in the beginning of this presentation? When we started working together, his goal was to leave the big city that he was living in to a smaller town. He wanted to buy a place close to where his daughter lives, and he wanted to spend more time sailing together with his wife. And fast forward to today, he's been able to achieve one of those goals. He moved from the big city to the US East Coast, to a lovely little town close to nature and the ocean. Him and his wife have been able to buy a plot of land close to where their daughter lives in Arizona. They're now building a house there. And finally, he's well on his way to spend more time on that sailing boat. We'd love to speak with you about what your goals are and potentially help you achieve those goals. So if this sounds interesting, then schedule your free 30-minute consultation. We will provide you with free diagnostics of your current efforts in this consultation. We'll give you our honest advice. If it isn't a fit, we'll tell you, and then at least you will walk away with some hands-on suggestions for how you can improve your business development. This is a premium service, so it's not for everyone, but if it is a right fit, we are definitely looking forward to the prospect of working together with you, help you launch a new business, grow an existing business, or any other type of initiative or activity that involves relationship building efforts. Thank you so much for listening in. I look forward to speaking with you.